It's Jay High from Couch and Keyboard, and I decided to do a recap of Level Up Expo. Now, I just think that Level Up Expo has become a very strange tournament. Um, I know CERT kind of has that reputation as well, but this feels even more strange, like consistently. Just really weird results, weird things happening. Some people don't think it's a very good event. So it's a peculiar one. And let's kind of go over why. So Level Up Expo had over 1,000 entrants, had a lot of fighting games. We saw a lot of different things happen, and it wasn't just a esports event. There was other stuff happening. We saw a lot of different stuff. So it wasn't just a tournament, but it did feel kind of strange. I think the schedule itself is why does top 8 need to start at 12:30 or 1:30 and then end at 6? Why are you packing up at 6? That seems really strange. And I was watching a lot of Full House Siege, the Melee Invitational, so keeping track of both of them was kind of weird because Grands was happening at the same time. This is the West Coast event, and Full House was in Pennsylvania. So I'm like, now, I don't mind it not being till 1 a.m. That's fine. It's okay for it to be early. And I know they didn't necessarily plan for it, a Melee Invitational. That's not what their idea. But everything, if this wasn't the final event, which it was the largest by far, but if it wasn't the final event and there was something that happened after, that would make more sense. But it says that everything ended at 6. Why? I don't get that. That was really strange. Other stuff that had happened. Apparently, only 64 setups for the entire event. Sometimes tournaments don't have a lot of setups, and it used to be where you have 20 or 30 and you're good. But I mean, they had 700 entrants, so 64 for 700 people is that. I mean, that's less than 1 per 10 people. So that's not amazing for people that want to play a lot of friendlies. And a lot of people do. Because online is not that great, they want to maximize their opportunities. And they paid a decent amount to be there. So it seemed like having that few amount of setups was not great. I understand it's hard, but even going up to 96, or just having another kind of amounts to where it is a decent jump up, I think would be very helpful. They did pools best of 3. I don't think that's a huge deal. There were some upsets because of the best of 3. I think that if you have make pools too big and you do best of 3, you can kind of open yourself up to those upsets that seem based on there being a best of 3. Also, seeding was released early, but it was it seemed like it was just by shoe stats or whatever, which I like shoe stats, but there's some skewed stuff there. It's not perfect. And so the announcement, Weiss of Light, I forget his Twitter. He does a lot of the seeding stuff posts for tournaments, and it was is this accurate? And then the seeding changed. It was really weird. A lot of people were saying this is poorly done, which I was I feel bad for the seeding team because sometimes they're not really responsible for what gets posted, and yeah. So this is mainly for Ultimate, but I mean it was a decent amount of stuff. You had Punk, you had Arsenal Ash, it was cool. Doubles I think was interesting. 90 teams, that's pretty solid. A lot of Japanese teams lost pretty early. Yeah, you had some. Hurt and Mia got 5th. Other teams lost pretty early. I forget who it was. It might have been Doramigi or something, but Doramigi lost really early. Here, let me look for it real fast. Yeah, it was Area 310 is usually Doramigi. Yeah, so Doramigi and Karage, very good Falcon. They got 5th in their pool. They got 17 in doubles. That's pretty unusual. Which, I mean, this was a pretty stacked doubles bracket. They did a lot of best of 3, which I would say Big Boss and Kaleo, I would probably say that they should be a top seed. But I mean, they got through it anyway. and they were actually able to win the entire event. Karama and Louis Money, obviously being a very good team, actually lost to in Akola, excuse me. And yeah, there was some other stuff happening. In terms of entrance, it was not close. Sometimes they have at the top the more recent ones, but like 136, like 4,700. Tekken 137. I mean, there was more doubles for some other brackets, which is like fine. Like obviously, if it's a Smash predominantly done event, you can't expect all the traditional fighting people to come out to it. But like, it's fine. Like obviously, like that's the priority. With other stuff happening, it's okay. And I think it was still a good event overall. But yeah, so some of the pool sets, I wrote them down, and here were some of the top seeds. It was like pretty much the top 128 plus a couple extra. And then you had, this one was like not huge. This is not Beck as in the East, because that was also an upset. But over you, the Pyramithra from Philippines. Not a huge upset, but still, notable. Yeast over Marvelous Marco. I'm not really sure about that seeding. I feel like Yeast would probably be seed higher. I don't really know though. MFA got upset by Pure Salt. That was surprising. Nestboy 12. I know NorCal is a pretty good player. Beat Andric, something like that. Kairos. They had some different tag. I forget. But beat Spickles. Young Frog beat Colorado. I just released the best of Inkling. So when I saw Colorado loss, I was like, oh man. And then Skinny the Pooh, who had that crazy run last year, didn't even make the top 128. Like, what is happening? And then Skillbrina Carpenter beat Mugen. Lucky lost very early. This was like 2-7. This was not even like the 2-3 of the pool. And then Atata lost early. Fatality wasn't a top 128 seed, but still lost in like 3 versus 6. So I was like, dang, Fatality's washed, man. And then Nazura beat Chag. Nazura also in the Inkling. Just posted about that. And yeah, so a couple round ones that kind of threw stuff off. But top 128 was really surprising. Now, the way they did this was the traditional schedule, where you do each little bit of pools, and you do pools. They only had 3 waves instead of 4. And then you do phase 2 all at once. I hate that. No disrespect to the people that are in pools. And the 2 versus 3 seeds, I'm sure, were fine. But show the top 128 sets. Those are so important. Those are like tons of people came out to this. This was a premier tournament. So like the way that a lot of tournaments like Riptide and Tipped Off and like a lot of people really like it, it's a little bit less intuitive, but pretty much this is wave A, B, and C how they did it. So A is playing their pool, and then when B does their pools, then the first part, the people that were in this play their 128 to 24. And then you have the next one. You have the C pools. Then you have the second wave of 128 to 24. Then you have the third. And then you have this. Now, they only had 3 waves, and you can't really divide 128 by 3, but the simple way is just make it to where one of these is double the size. Like, let's say you have the last one be double the size, and you have it to where it goes a little bit longer. You could run over and do a few extra sets. Perfect. Like, you can adapt and do that just fine. And instead of having pools for 3 and then a ton of sets, like the bracket chopping into what's 24 into 128. I mean, that's like a sixth or something. Like that's much fewer, because I guess a quarter is 32, so even beyond that, it's a round extra from that in losers. So it just frustrates me because this is the outdated way that you just shouldn't do. Even SmashCon, which is much bigger, they at least do 2 waves of this. Like, you could have at least done it to where, like, a little bit differently, but for whatever reason, they need to close down, like, by this early time, by, like, 8 o'clock or something. or like 7. It just seemed really strange. I guess 8 o'clock probably. But like, I don't know why they need it closed down so early. Like, it's fine, and ultimately, like, the tournament still happened, and there's like side streams and whatnot. But like, there's too much to keep up with. Like, the pace of play is going so fast, and these matches being called, you can't keep track of everything. I tried to, and I'm like, what is happening? I look away for 15 minutes, and 7 upsets happened. And it's like, so if you're trying to keep up with this tournament, it is stressful because there's so much happening. And I mean, I'll go over it. There's a lot. Dori Migi looking really strong. Did go game 5, but yeah, was able to get through. JDV beat Monty. I just put Monty as the 5th best game watch, or excuse me, 4th best game watch of all time, and then lost to JDV. That was pretty surprising. Tweak lost to Neo. Neo on the come up. Ouch beat Spargo. Like, Neo and Ouch both making top 24 guaranteed. That was pretty surprising. Now, they both had good runs before, but the fact that they happened at the same time means that Spargo and Tweak were going to play very early. And losers, you had, MFA going for a losers bracket run after getting upset. So that was cool to see. Monty did fine and then lost to Spargo. Really tough bracket there. Beck99 also beat Omega. So good stuff for Beck99 beating you and Omega. And then Tweak Spargo, one of them was guaranteed out. So that's tough. Also, Kieras lost pretty early too. But yeah, so this one was like, this is clearly the main one. But like, we didn't have many Japanese upsets. It was more so like, okay, you have one of the best in America, one of the best in Latin America, and one of them has to get out. Spargo was able to get that win. In D2, Light beat Hurt. That's a big deal. Beastly beat Raffalo. That's a big deal. Kurama Jazzo, not too crazy. That was 8 and 9. But like, Beastly has been playing rivals all the time. This was pretty run-of-the-mill, but then Ashimo beat Zomba. Zomba had a really good Genesis. That was surprising. Seesaw had a good run beating FD. Mr. E lost early. Colorado came back and beat Raffalo. So Colorado able to do pretty good. It's like, I already made the list for best Inklings, but Colorado did that route. That's one of his best wins ever. Like, obviously a ton of AK wins, but like, that's up there. And then Jazzo was able to make a good losers run, beating Leaf, and then losing to Pluto very close. And then Brujo was able to make top 24, beating Kurama and Beastly, benefiting from this upset here, because this part of bracket became pretty stacked, and this one was a little bit easier, and that's how it goes sometimes. And Brujo was able to make top 24. I think going Kaguya, but still showing a little bit of K-Rool, so good stuff. D3. This one was really cool for Mutace. Mutace, we've seen the potential getting top 2 at Genesis in the past, and was able to beat Sarup and Carmelo back-to-back. K and B was able to barely, I guess not barely, it was 3-1, but kind of cut out Louis Money's run. And I mean, Louis Money barely beating VK Flock, but able to, I think that Louis Money definitely wants to keep playing these legends of the game, keep getting these good wins. Some of these, Babunski, I had seen at a cash box or something. This was pretty surprising. Beating Nizura is okay. I think they're pretty close. Beating Chase, it's good. Beating Shattuck. Now, Shattuck's not been quite as good recently, but this is still a big deal. Larry the Evil Cat, I think that's Cryos or something. But yeah, and then Syrup down early. Spickles over Base Mage and East. And then Cola getting 25th. Unfortunate there, but that's how it goes sometimes. And then D4. This one was nuts. This one was, I believe, Lammers. So round 1, nothing happened. We saw some game 5s. Close. And then Crepe Soleil beat MKLeo. And Riddles beat Sonics. With a pretty crazy ending, like off stage, like nuts. And then beat Toon right after. And then Crepe Soleil beat Mia. Mia's not been doing that great recently. I put Mia best game watch of all time. I still think that's true, but not having a great year so far. And then in losers, Lucky having a really good losers run after losing really early. And then some of this, not too crazy. It's like, okay, that's like Mugen lost really. But yeah, it's like nothing too surprising. I forget who this was. Sorry, I don't. Karage. Okay, that was the same person. So yeah, tough break there. For Karage. Toon doing pretty well, but did lose to Riddles. Definitely a good opportunity there. But Riddles also had a really good Street Fighter run. I forget where Riddles placed, but beat Punk in winners, and then was able to get third place. Did used to Chris G and Punk in the run back, but I mean outplaced like Knuckle Do, Goichi, Dual Kevin, like really cool run from Riddles to do so well in multiple brackets. And top 24 was crazy. The thing is, they didn't stream a lot of these. Like, top 24 is not that much, and they had 2 streams. It's not like you have one and it takes forever. You had 2. But for whatever reason, they needed to get it going. And they didn't stream hardly any of these. Like, Losers Round 1, I think there was 2 out of 8 streamed. And then, like, a couple of these weren't streamed, and then a couple of these weren't streamed. I was like, what are we doing, guys? I'm like, yeah, I am aware of people doing like the portable streams, like the IRL setups, and I'm fine with that. But when there's so many happening that like it's hard to even keep up with all of them, like at least divide it out a little bit. At least do like 3 at a time or something. If you call them like all of you go now, and like this is like Smash history here. This is one of the biggest tournaments of all time, and you're telling me it's like okay, like like random stuff like so many of these sets were not on stream, and that's really disappointing. In terms of matchups, none of these were too surprising. For Spargo early, that sucks, and poor Spargo. And then Leo kind of threw this. I was watching this one, and disappointing for Leo because Leo and Mia, I guess Hurt won anyway, but like Hurt and Mia both being 2 of the top 4 from last year playing in Losers top 16 is very strange. Like, this is just stuff you don't see. And, like, yeah, like, it's very stacked, and it's an interesting, it's like, mostly West Coast, a little bit of, like, kind of like Central, able to travel easier to Nevada compared to, like, NorCal or something. It's a little bit closer. But, yeah, Europe not doing too hot here, and Japan looking really strong. We saw 3 Japan winners, Crepe Soleil being the only one. Beating Riddles. Light had a really good, Light was playing like one of his best ever tournaments. This was really strong from him because it's been tough for him to kind of keep track. Like he's been like top 5 NA or at least top 5 USA, and he's like doing okay, but he just loses a lot. And but was able to have a really good run. And Hurt did beat Mudace. Mudace was not able to 3-0 the next Steve. A tough bracket run, but I mean, definitely one of the most impressive feats that we've seen from Mudace. Even though the 9th place doesn't sound that great, still really good. Zomba coming back, beating a Sonics, getting that Genesis run back, and then Riddles did kind of go out, losing to Carmelo, but yeah, and then top 8 we had Zomba going on a pretty crazy run. Light beat Hurt again, but then lost to Crepe Soleil, getting top 4, good stuff. Japan, guaranteeing that there would be at least one, and then Crepe Soleil lost kind of solidly to Doramigi. Aquila having a pretty close set here. Zomba able to get this in the run back, and Zomba beating Aquila. Very impressive there. Took set 1, set 2, heartbreaker there. I watched it and it was kind of sad, but Doramigi able to win this tournament again despite all this crazy stuff happening. Level Up Expo is a weird tournament. Just random stuff happens all the time, and yeah, there's some things that I didn't really like that they did, and I wish they had more time. There was no event after that you had to rush for, and you had 2 streams, so I feel like you could have done it a little bit differently. Maybe you do 2, and then you play a third one where you have some dedicated people, because that's one thing I understand. Paying for internet at these venues is so expensive, but IRL setups are good, but when you have so many that are happening, where it's hard to keep track of them all. When Larry Lur's doing his co-stream and he like has to like do all this kind of stuff, man, like let's make it a little bit better for the spectator, because like these sets are an important part of Smash history. Like our Ultimate is such a cool spot right now. There's so many people from across the world that are getting so good at this game. And like, yeah, you can say that you don't like the meta. Steve was really rampant at this event, but we saw Steve lose a lot in this top 8. We saw like, Grands was Rob versus Min Min. And also Akala was going Game & Watch 2 here a lot. But yeah, I think it was still a good tournament, but it's a weird tournament. So Level Up Expo 2027, I expect, I don't know, Leo's either going to get 3rd or 33rd. Who knows? But yeah, silly event. We'll see next time.